just finished mixing up some mortar because today we're going to start bricking up around the ring beam.
Victoria's just cutting down the threaded rod that's currently poking out of the ring beam, and we used that to originally hold the form in place when we poured the concrete, but now obviously they're in the way of where the bricks need to go. I actually came out the other day and tried to quickly whip round and do them all with an angle grinder, but the sparks that were coming off it actually started to set alight to the breathable membrane that's underneath the tiles. So yeah, that was nearly catastrophic. But yeah, we can't really risk that again. So now we're having to do it with a hacksaw, which is a bit slower, but she's nearly there.
Ricky just checking how level this string line is with the world's tiniest spirit level.
Yeah, it's a handy little device, this thing. Oh, that's where it came from. It came with our chalk line. But yeah, you can just clip it to a string line and then it obviously gives you a level. Very handy bit of kit. Although this is going to be pretty rough because we are going to render over it and it's my first brick wall. So probably not going to be the best looking thing, but I still do want to get a line from one end to the other because when this builds up to the top, we then need to put another brick overhanging on top of it, which is then going to marry up to the tiles overhanging. So I still want to get it as level as possible, even though we can make up the difference across the courses and when we get to the top. Just having a bit of a tidy up because I was working till kind of almost darkness yesterday and I just dropped tools and I didn't clean stuff, which is not good when you're working with concrete and mortar. I mean, look at the state of that. Naughty boy. So since this channel started, we get comments all of the time asking us for advice on buying and renovating property in Portugal. And normally we just advise you to get expert help because every property is different and we are certainly not qualified to advise you on it. But you know, a few years ago, we were in your position too, so we understand how confusing it can be. So this week we've partnered with Pearls of Portugal. They're a buyer's agent company that works throughout Portugal and they can help you find your dream home in your ideal location. And if it needs renovating, they can set you up with their trusted construction and architecture partners, as well as help you with any after-sales service you need. The CEO of the company, Frederick, actually renovated an old stone house himself in the north of Portugal, so he understands firsthand just how challenging it can be. Frederick and his team of highly experienced locals have a wealth of knowledge, so I'm sure they can help you with your journey. So if you're looking for help finding your perfect home in Portugal, Pearls of Portugal are offering our subscribers a free house inspection when you purchase a property with their help. Simply click the link below, fill out the contact form and mention the code RENOVATE in your message to receive the offer. You'll also find an article about how to renovate a house in Portugal, as well as a link to their real estate website, which has loads of renovation opportunities from rural farmhouses through to villas and townhouses. They also have some insanely beautiful high-end luxury properties on there as well. So if you're like us and you like to be a bit nosy about how the other half live, then you'll definitely enjoy that too.
Been really busy working on the house and obviously celebrating Christmas, but the land waits for no one, and there are definitely some maintenance jobs around here that I want to try and get on top of and start the new year in the right fashion. So there are lots of our fruit trees which need pruning because they're dormant at the moment. Also, the grass in parts is turning into a slight jungle, so I'm going to try and whip around at some point and trim that. But first of all, I need to tackle a pretty spiky problem at the back of the tiny house. Around the back of the house grow an absolute abundance of brambles. So anytime we were working on the roof and we dropped a tool, it was a matter of plunging your hand into some brambles as carefully as possible to retrieve it. So it's an absolute pain that they're here. And when we actually complete the house, it's not going to be an issue because we are going to excavate right around the perimeter of the building so that we can actually put in a French drain. But for now, we definitely do need to try and get on top of these.
Hey up, Duck.
Hey, up to you. How's it going?
Good. How about you? How's the brambles?
We're bramble free and I'm relatively unscathed.
Good. Yeah, how's it going here? Good. The first row went relatively smoothly. This is going to be the trickiest one, is the first row, because going on top of like bumpy stone, and because we're doing it flush to the face of the stone, some of the stones curve back in, so when you put mortar down, it doesn't want to sit, it just wants to fall out the front. So that took a bit of work, but yeah, it turned out pretty decent. It's gone off enough that I've then filled the void, small like inch void behind it, with some like sloppy concrete, and then we've also got broken bits of brick. So I filled that in there just so we get those cavities filled and we're not going to have any rodent nesting issues in the future. And yeah, you might have seen us in some previous shots breaking these bricks up and wondering why we're doing that. Probably should have explained this sooner. So because we set the ring beam in centrally on top of the wall, it's set backwards from the inside and outside edges. The original plan was to conceal it with stone, but because of delays on the project and us wanting to push forward, this is the reason why we're bricking it now. But what it means is that because the walls are wavy and the ring beam is straight, there's not one brick size that is going to fit in this whole space and fill it. So yeah, you can see here we've got some skinny ones, some a few centimeters bigger, and then we have these bigger chunky ones, and these are the ones that I've been breaking down so far. But anyway, back to today's job, and before I put this second row of bricks on, we've got a load of insulation left over from when we did the roof, a load of offcuts, so I'm going to cut them down, get them fixed between the rafters. That's going to keep the roof wood structure on the warm side of the building and protect that. But I need to do it now because once that second row of bricks going on, that area is going to be pretty much inaccessible. So one last job for me today while Victoria is trimming the olive grove. The expanding foam that was around the insulation has had a good bit of time to go off now, so that's hardened. I need to cut it back to the rafter line because I'm sure I remember reading before when I bought that foam that it was a low expansion. However, it's definitely not. So it's expanded quite a bit, so I just need to cut it back to the rafter line. That'll free up the space so I can carry on bricking tomorrow.
A while ago, we actually mentioned that we were thinking about getting either sheep or a couple of goats to help us with the maintenance of the land and eating the grass. It's not something that we've decided against at all, but we don't have all of the practicalities figured out. One of the big problems that we don't have an answer for right now is that should a situation arise where Ricky and I both need to leave the land, perhaps to travel back to the UK for some reason, we don't have anybody locally who at the drop of a hat could actually care for those animals, whether that's here or at their own land. Without having an answer to that question, it's not something that we feel would be responsible or correct to take on some animals without having their care figured out. For now, it's just me and my trusty strummer looking after the grass. But on a day like today, it's not too much of a hardship.
Well, it is a beautiful sunny day today. Pretty warm, which probably isn't ideal for the mortar, but lovely for us being outside. So I've come out this morning, done a little bit of stonework, so there's a few gaps where I need to fill in before I can put brick on top. I've also done a few bricks on the side, so they're turned 90 degrees going onto the back for when we then go up and over the gable. And just as I'm about to continue bricking and sort of lose sight of the ring beam, it's made me think, we get loads of comments of people asking, why are we not renovating the main house first and then doing this afterwards? So this seems like a good point to talk about it because this is relevant. First of all, we're living in that main house, so whilst we're living in there, we can't be breaking stone and making an absolute dusty mess because we're in one room. We haven't got space to move things around and get out of the way. So that's the first reason. Second reason is because we want to use this small building as kind of a training ground for us. So anything that we do on here, if we make a mistake, first of all, that mistake is on a much smaller scale. And then also, it's also going to be much cheaper, which is a really important thing. So the plan is learn here, make mistakes, so then when we come to the main house, obviously there'll be mistakes on there as well, but at least we'll make less of them because we'll be a bit more experienced from this one. And the ring beam on this is a good example because when we originally planned the ring beam and we set it back in from the walls, the reason for that was because we wanted to cover it with stone and conceal it inside. However, with the project just running really far over, we're just running out of time. Stonework takes a very long time, especially when you're inexperienced. It's not the actual laying out, it's the breaking the stones, finding the right size stones, and it's just a slow process. We did actually contact a couple of stonemasons to see if they could come and do it for us, just to try and help speed it up, but good ones are just so busy, and again, we haven't got the time to wait. We had a few people saying in the comments, you know, take your time, do the stone, it would be a shame not to do it. Yes, we would love to do it, but what you have to remember is the longer we take on this building, the longer it's going to be until we can start the renovation on the main building. And ultimately, that's the main project. That's the reason why we bought the property, not this one. This is a bonus, a secondary, gives us somewhere to stay. And then once we're in the main house, this is a nice place for guests to come and stay. So we really do need to press on with this, and then we can get on with the main house.
up taking off a little bit more than I anticipated there, but when I got into the tree, there was just so much dead wood in there that there was no point leaving it in. So yeah, it's a little bit bare now, but we never actually got around to pruning this one last year, so that's why it's in such bad condition. But hopefully this year it's going to be a lot more productive with what fruit it can produce. I've brought you a drink because I've got a feeling you're going to be pretty dehydrated, seeing as you've not even eaten your lunch, really.
Barely drunk anything, just been absolutely gunning for it, trying to get this done. But yeah, it took a bit longer, but now I'm absolutely whizzing through. Annoyingly, that's the last bucket of mortar I've got, and I think I'm probably going to be short to do the last brick.
Oh, that's so typical.
Yeah, it's too late in the day now, I think, to make up another mix. So yeah, I think that'll be the first thing I'll do the next time we're mixing some up.
You're turning into a real little Ricky the Bricky for me, though.
That nickname's not going to stick.
Hope your bricks do. I've got